Hi guys, Harbs here. Today's video will be a part 3 to what we can expect in Baldur's Gate. This was kind of voted for by my patrons, and I'd like to reiterate my thanks to all of you for your continued support. Unfortunately, no matter how much I harassed the Great Seer perk, not everyone on that tier voted, so we found ourselves at a stalemate, and I had to roll the dice. Don't worry, I will still be doing a video on Cazador in the not too distant future. Who knows, maybe Cazador isn't as bad as we all think.
That's bait.
There will be DATAMINED spoilers in this video, so please don't watch if you're not interested in anything beyond the core early access game. Okay, let's go. In this video, I'll be focusing on one specific aspect of the city, the Dead Three, and a plot possibly inspired by a historic event that happened in England in the year 1605. Yes, I'm talking about the gunpowder plot, masterminded by Robert Catesby, where the infamous Guy Fawkes was caught red-handed in the undercroft of the Houses of Lords with some matches, a load of gunpowder, and a guilty look on his face. This historic event gives some of us British people the chance every year to throw the effigy of a man on a gigantic bonfire, drink beer, eat toffee apple, and top it all off with a display of fireworks. Yes, I have genuine, wonderful memories in my youth of watching mannequins adorned with a goatee burn upon a huge fire in the middle of a cold English autumn field. What a strange tradition. Anyway, it is a pretty good night. But if you're not British, then I suppose the film V for Vendetta made Guy Fawkes somewhat famous around the world, although the reality of what happened that night on November 5th, 1605 is quite far from the film's fight against fascism, given that what actually happened was more about replacing one set of arseholes with another set of arseholes, and that's somewhat what I think the Dead Three want to do. Or at least they want to do something similar in order to weaken the city in preparation for a huge invasion. I believe Larian might be using several bits from Descent into Avernus and Murder in Baldur's Gate to formulate this plot. So in the game files we can see this line. A significant amount of smoke powder was stolen from Felagur's fireworks. A reward is offered for capture of the culprit. It's basically gunpowder with extra steps, but it is essentially very similar and capable therefore of causing a huge explosion. In the Goblin camp we can find a Zhentarim trader who tells us that she has just sold smoke powder to the Cult of the Absolute, and she doesn't know what they want it for, which is kind of like selling a bunch of terrorists some guns and then saying maybe they just want them for decorations. It is obvious that the Absolute want these barrels of smoke powder in order to blow something up, and this is where the adventures Murder in Baldur's Gate and Descent into Avernus come into play. In Descent into Avernus, which is a prequel to Baldur's Gate 3, we can find the following about Felagur's fireworks. At the moment, however, Avery is visibly troubled. Recently, someone managed to break into the upper workshop while he was sleeping and steal 4 kegs of smoke powder. In their place, he found a drawing of a phoenix. Avery is terrified of what the thieves might do with the powder. He's all too aware that someone with that much smoke powder could blow up a portion of the High Hall, Worm's Rock, or any number of other fortifications. Within the theft table of Descent into Avernus, the DM has the opportunity to create a bit of a backstory for the party. One of the options is dangerous goods mean hazard pay. You stole 4 kegs of smoke powder from Felagur's fireworks and sold them to a gang of revolutionaries. Your pay is already spent, but the fireworks have yet to begin. It isn't clear who these revolutionaries are, but this small encounter in Descent into Avernus is clearly a continuation of a much larger plot from Murder in Baldur's Gate, which was set in 1482 DR, 10 years before Baldur's Gate 3. In the adventure, the DM has a choice out of Torlin Silvershield, Ulder Ravengard, or Rilsa Rael, who will become a chosen of Bhaal. Canonically, it ends up being Torlin Silvershield, as this is confirmed in a later adventure called Dead in Thay. In Murder in Baldur's Gate, before Torlin becomes the Chosen of Bhaal, he starts producing smoke powder in order to compete against Felagur's fireworks monopoly. As Silvershield was the High Artificer of Gond, he saw it as his right to produce smoke powder, and initially the plan started off innocently, with Silvershield only wishing to put on an epic show using fireworks. However, as Bhaal's influence set in, his idea was twisted into a new plan, one which involved cleansing the corruption that had taken hold within the Parliament of Peers by blowing up the High Hall whilst Parliament is in session. He will then blame it on the Guild, the criminal organisation that he puts much of the blame on for the majority of Baldur's Gate's woes. The mass murder of everyone in the Parliament would surely bring plenty of satisfaction to Bhaal, who likely cares little for the reasons why Torlin has justified it in his own head, and given that the Duke's mind has been twisted by the newly restored Lord of Murder, there is likely little of Torlin's own mind formulating this plot. The only other person that knows what Torlin is planning is his personal wizard, a man called Imbralim Skund. The other co-conspirators are aware of only small bits of the puzzle, never being told more than they need to know. One of these groups are the Candlehallows, a family of moon elves that run a funeral home and are responsible for transporting the dead around the city. In Murder in Baldur's Gate, we can see the following. As part of a secret arrangement between the Candlehallow family and Skund, smoke powder casks have been hidden inside supposedly empty coffins, being brought into the upper city for funerals. After it passes through Baldur's Gate, a coffin containing smoke powder is taken into a narrow alley near the 3 old kegs. From the alley, the coffin is carried into a wine shop's back room, and the casks are quickly unloaded before the coffin carters proceed on their way. Now, Torlin Silvershield is dead by the time of Baldur's Gate 3, but if Larian have taken inspiration from this plot, then it might be reason why the absolute smoke powder barrels are mixed in with a bunch of firewine ones, if this is the way that they are going to smuggle them into the city. Secondly, we can see in the game files that there is some kind of link between the Candlehallows and the Dead Three. Our mother, Madame Candlehallow, was actually taken. We've been terribly concerned over her, and we can see that the funeral home exists in the game. Secondly, in Descent into Avernus, we can see this line regarding the family. Chief among these latter customers is the family matriarch, Lelena Candlehallow, a neutral evil female moon elf mage who takes the choicest and rarest of the deceased for her experiments, replacing them with paupers' corpses and weighted coffins. Should any of the family's misdealing come to light, it would doubtlessly shock the city to the core and potentially force Lelena to reveal the elaborate necromantic masterpiece, an evolution of both art and life, that she's been slowly patching together for months in her basement. Okay, so far we have Torlin Silvershield, who is a chosen of Bhaal, orchestrating the plot, and the Candlehallows, who are smuggling the smoke powder. The problem is that as of Baldur's Gate 3, Torlin Silvershield is no longer around, and in Descent into Avernus and Murder in Baldur's Gate, there was no mention of the Candlehallows having anything to do with Myrkul. But then again, I don't think Wizards of the Coast had any idea about the Absolute, particularly not when Murder in Baldur's Gate was written, as they hadn't even licensed out Baldur's Gate 3 yet. This is kind of like a patchwork of inspirations that I can sort of see forming to finally create a conclusive smoke powder plot in the game. In Descent into Avernus, we can see that Bhaal, Bane and Myrkul all have 3 types of cultists each. In the game files of Baldur's Gate 3, we can only see mention of Bhaal's cultist types, and none of Myrkul's and Bane's, leading me to think that perhaps Myrkul is more subtle, and the necromancers of the Candlehallows may be the main Myrkul worshippers, with the Bhaal cultists doing most of the heavy lifting for the smoke powder. However, this still leaves out Bane. After all, Bane worshippers and Bane himself are described as follows in Descent. He is the mastermind of the Dead Three, the one whose ambitions drive the group's efforts. These meetings are often contentious, though the followers of Bhaal and Myrkul usually bend to the whims of the more strategically minded Bane worshippers. In Descent into Avernus, we can find Hamlock's Slaughterhouse. This huge complex of pens, barns and abattoirs is the largest slaughterhouse and knackery in Baldur's Gate, located in the Stony Eyes neighbourhood so as to be convenient to the city's butchers. The facility has a generally adversarial relationship with neighbouring establishments, as other herders and hostlers claim the omnipresent smell of blood makes their animals nervous. Seeking to spread fear and chaos, cultists of the Dead Three have infiltrated the slaughterhouse and begun murdering people across the city, leaving the victims in an alley behind the Smiling Boar in Bloomridge. Pasque Enriel, a black gauntlet of Bane, is the cult's mastermind. He engineered the death of the slaughterhouse's former owner so that he could take over, figuring that constant blood, offal and animal screams would provide a suitable cover for the cult's murderous activities. Since then, he's been slowly laying off existing workers and replacing them with cultists loyal to the group's mission. Assisting him are Corian Key, a death's head of Bhaal who spends days crushing livestock skulls with a massive hammer, and knights leading the cult's murderous field operations, and Jameis Exelteron, a half-elf master of souls. Well, the fact that Corian, a cultist of Bhaal, is charged with leading field operations might be a good indication to the fact that the Bhaal cultists are doing a lot of the legwork regarding smoke powder, and generally are performing a lot of the murders within the city, hence why we can only find mention of Bhaal cultists specifically in the game files of Baldur's Gate 3. Now, the Slaughterhouse isn't explicitly mentioned in Baldur's Gate 3, but a flesh golem is being created by Jameis within the Slaughterhouse in Descent into Avernus, and this monster is explicitly mentioned in the game files. But possibly the most revealing link to the Slaughterhouse in Baldur's Gate 3 is the mention of the Butcher, who is one of the leaders of the Absolute. You made the right choice coming here. Of all the chosen, the one Ola serves is the Absolute's favourite. Ola is the Butcher's apprentice, and if the Butcher is a Bane worshipper, it would make sense for him to be the Absolute's favourite, given Bane's usual edge over Bhaal and Myrkul. Another possible reference to the Slaughterhouse in Baldur's Gate 3 is the manner in which some people seem to be being murdered. In Descent into Avernus, the way in which the cultists of the Slaughterhouse perform the murders is described as follows. To further fan the flames, the cult slices the corpses across the wrists and inflicts a heart-piercing wound, giving rise to rumours that the murders are the result of a supernaturally deadly serial killer. In the game files, we can see the following lines that reference this stabbing through the heart. Anyway, the smoke powder plot was very prevalent in Murder in Baldur's Gate, with mentions of similar things in Descent into Avernus, which had a bigger focus on the Dead 3. With Bane, Bhaal and Myrkul conspiring in Baldur's Gate 3 and a new smoke powder plot beginning to form, will we have the choice to succeed where Torlin failed and blow up the High Hall, or will we be the ones to expose it and save the city? Anyway, I could be totally wrong about everything here, but it is a fun theory nonetheless. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, then do please give me a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!